What do those food labels mean? How can we understand them so that we can make sure that we're nourishing our children with the stuff they need to have the energy and the vitality to live happy, healthy lives? Today, it's a conversation about kids, diet, and what we put in our shopping trolleys. Hello and welcome to the Happy Families podcast. Real parenting solutions every day on Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. My name is Dr. Justin Coulson, and today I'm joined by paediatric dietitian, TV commentator, founder of Nourishing Kids and Nourish with Kareena, and mum of two, Kareena Savage, to talk all these things. Hey, Kareena, thanks for being on the pod today.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Whereabouts does this conversation find you, Kareena?
I am in Sydney today, sitting in my clinic.
Kareena, when we go shopping with the kids and we're marching up and down the aisles, pushing the supermarket trolley, and we pull that thing off the shelf and look at the back of it to see the ingredients, what are we looking for? Because this is confusing. There are so many different categories: protein, sugars, carbohydrates, per serving, per 100 grams. What's the stuff that matters most if I want to make sure that I'm feeding my child healthy food?
Justin, I think we as parents in 2025 have it tougher than any other parent has ever had it in terms of trying to understand what is a healthy food choice for our child or for our family. Currently, with our current food standards and food labelling laws, manufacturers can really use a lot of deception around food labelling, and as parents, it's really tricky. Hopefully in the future, with a lot of, encouragement from people such as myself and groups lobbying for this, we will have better food labelling laws in the future where food manufacturers cannot be as deceptive. But currently, they are able to pour as much salt and sugar into food as they want. They are currently able to label things organic, good for us, basically, when they're not.
Hold the phone. Hang on a sec. I didn't know this. So they can use the word organic,
yeah,
even if food is not organically grown.
Well, sorry, they can use the word organic, and it is actually organic, but they will use the label organic to make it sound healthy when there's a bucket load of sugar poured into it.
So what you're saying is that it already feels overwhelming. The information we get is contradictory, and the food industrial complex is using deceptive marketing to make things seem better for our kids than they actually are.
Absolutely. When we've had a recent review of our foods in Australia, 90% of them, of baby and toddler food, did not meet international guidelines, and our food marketing is where a lot of it came down to food labelling.
So I was always of the opinion that in Australia we had really great legislation and we didn't have to worry about the stuff that they're worried about in America, because they're a bit crazy in the US when it comes to commercialization and big pharma and big food and big tech and that sort of thing. I thought we were way better than that here. You're suggesting no?
No, absolutely not. We have toddler foods marketed as 97% fruit and yogurt that is actually worse than white chocolate when you flip it around and you look at the ingredients list. It's got more sugar in it than white chocolate, yet it says on the front of the label they are allowed to say 97% fruit and yogurt. It's unbelievable.
Okay, so I asked you about the labels a second ago, but I'm going to tell you what I do.
Yep.
In our family, we are, I would say, far more health conscious than most families. We try as much as possible to just eat whole foods. We try not to eat stuff out of packets. But if I'm going to eat something out of a packet, I don't understand, even though I'm born in the 1970s, I still don't really know what I'm looking for in terms of the nutritional information. So I tell my kids, look at the ingredients list, and if sugar or salt is in the top 5, then it's a highly processed, highly unhealthy, and probably quite an addictive food. If it's out of the top 5, I'm usually pretty blasé about it and will give it a go. No one can see your face, but you're cracking up right now like this guy has no idea. You've got this huge... Oh, you do? I'm looking at the smile on your face and I'm interpreting that as he's a Gumby.
No, I love it. Look, a lot of what you say is true. I always say the shorter the ingredients list, the better.
Oh, yeah, that too.
If there are ingredients in that ingredients list that you don't know,
can't
or your
pronounce,
grandmother wouldn't know,
yep.
It's put it back. There's so much highly processed, refined stuff that goes into our kids' food. Ingredients that we don't even know what they are, and numbers and all sorts. It's phenomenal. So yes, absolutely. If sugar is in the top three, definitely, kick it to the curb. Salt is quite highly concentrated. So yeah, definitely in the top five, I would avoid it. And I would encourage people to look to the nutrition table. And in kids' food, in all food, generally it's good to compare per 100 grams. So you're comparing apples with apples. So for example, in a muesli bar, you would ideally keep the sugar less than 20 grams per 100 grams. Same goes for breakfast cereals, under 20 grams per 100 grams. I mean, the lower, the better. If you can get it under 15 or 10, fantastic. But start with under 20 grams per 100 grams for sugar. And salt, otherwise known as sodium, under 350 per 100 grams. So under 350 milligrams per 100 grams for sodium. So start with those two, but definitely looking at the ingredients list is a really good place to start, because you can look for those real words. You want to be seeing real words like apple or oats or nuts. You don't want to be seeing things like sugar or concentrated fruit purees or concentrated fruit pastes, because that's the way they're currently getting around a lot of these, the pouring the sugar into these toddler foods, because they say it's natural when it's a real concentrated source of fruit, but they're currently allowed to call it just no added sugar.
I've been looking for additives like for spices, like if I'm going to have fajitas or wraps, that kind of thing. And what I discovered, even on the very popular taco mixes, for example, sugar is one of the top ingredients in those things. I found one the other day and it literally had 3 or 4 ingredients and I knew every single word and not one of them was sugar. I was like, oh, these are the spices. This is going to be much healthier for me. So to restate, you're looking for words that you understand and know. And you want to keep sugar, particularly, at least out of the top 3, and preferably the further down the list it is, the less likely it is that food is going to be unhealthy for you.
Absolutely. We do need to be mindful, though, of artificial sweeteners, because they're creeping in more and more and more. The more people are being health conscious around low sugar, we're now seeing a rise of artificial sweeteners, but they have their own health risks and changes to our gut microbiota. So yeah, we really want to try and keep them out as much as possible as well.
After the break, I want to throw you a curly one about the health star ratings. They vex me, Kareena. That's coming up in just a sec on the podcast. It's the Happy Families podcast. This is Dr. Justin Coulson. I'm today hanging out with paediatric dietitian and founder of Nourish with Kareena, Kareena Savage. We're talking about the stuff we put on our kids' plates and they put in their mouths. We've talked about what's on the back of the label, and now I want to talk about what's on the front of the label. Big Food, the food industrial complex, loves to trumpet their health star rating. And yet when I look at some of these foods that have 4, 4.5, even 5 stars, Kareena, I have to scratch my head, because on the back there's a lot of sugar. I don't recognize a lot of the things in the ingredients list, and yet these things are considered healthy. Certain muesli bars are a very easy example of that, as well as some spreads that we put on sandwiches. Help me to understand what is going on with health star ratings, and are they believable at all, or is the entire system rigged? A kleptocracy? Is there some kind of just insidious cash for health stars thing going on with the people who are running the bureaucracy? What's the deal?
I don't trust them. And I don't trust them for my family, because companies know how to work the system. They know the loopholes to jump through to get an extra star rating. There's criteria that enable them to get more stars or less stars, and they know that they may need to just nudge that fiber up a little bit, or nudge that protein up, or nudge that salt down just a fraction to get that extra star. But it doesn't take away from the fact that some of these foods that have 4.5 stars are highly processed foods, and they have highly processed ingredients that are so far removed from Mother Nature and the original food that it came from. So I find it incredible that some highly processed foods that are really poor for us and our gut health are getting these star ratings, and there absolutely needs to be, and there is, I think it's coming, a big reform of the health star rating system and the criteria by which companies are rated. Because at the moment, artificial sweeteners and things like that, I don't believe they're factored into Health Star ratings when really they should be. I think it's quite an archaic system, and we need to be much more forward thinking with how we're rating our food.
Kareena, back on January 28, Kylie and I did a podcast episode about a new study that was published here in Australia looking at what goes into the average school kid's lunchbox. I think it was something like 1,200, I might have the number wrong, but about 1,200 lunchboxes were photographed as kids came into school. The researchers had permission to take a photo of what was in the lunchbox. And what they found was that the average lunchbox has about $4.50 worth of food in it. And the more food in packaging, the more expensive the lunchbox would be, but also the more food in packaging, the less healthy the lunchbox would be. I took that to indicate that we are paying more for a worse outcome, and that if we use and eat whole foods as much as possible, our kids are going to be healthier and we're actually going to be financially better off. But of course, the kids will then swap lunch or throw it in the bin because they like the stuff that comes in the packets. And so I'm a little bit stuck here, and I was wondering as we discuss this highly processed food industrial complex dilemma, what rules do you have to live by when it comes to putting together an economic but tasty lunchbox that the kids will eat?
Number one, buy in bulk and have bulk amounts of packet foods or bulk amounts of cheese and crackers so that it actually reduce the daily cost of crackers or cheese or whatever you might be putting in the lunchbox. So buying in bulk can help to reduce the daily cost of the lunchbox. Same if you're buying bags of popcorn or muesli bars, trying to buy them in bulk when they're on special and then storing them. Now, I think we still need to consider though the frequency and the number of the number of packaged processed foods that go into the lunchbox. Because you're right, kids love them. Anything that's white and salty and crunchy or sweet, they love them. And it's pester power. Parents are time poor. These foods are quick, convenient, tasty. Kids love them. It's a win-win from that perspective, but it's very much a lose-lose from hitting the hip pocket. Like they're expensive, and from a nutritional perspective, they're often very low in fiber and nutrition. They're very high in processed ingredients, and so really for parents, I think if you can give them maybe one packaged processed thing in their lunchbox, 2 maximum, but really trying to limit the number of packaged foods each day. So it's just not a free-for-all, because often kids have free reign to the pantry and they will literally go and just grab another packet of Oreos or another packet of crackers or another packet of chicken crimpies. So it's setting clear boundaries for your family around what's acceptable. And maybe they have one packet in their lunchbox and one packet after school and that's it. Or maybe you have none. Maybe you just have bulk rice crackers and cheese and chopped veggies, or maybe you do toast with peanut butter after school and there are no crackers. So it's trying to set some clear boundaries for your family, buying in bulk where possible, and really trying to limit these processed foods, because at the end of the day, it is a lose-lose. Even though the kids love them, it's not good for finances and it's not good for their nutrition.
Yeah, it hits your hip pocket, but it also hits your hips.
Absolutely. Yeah, it drives insulin, it drives obesity, these white fast sugars.
Yeah, I like that one. So I made that up right then.
I love it.
So I'm as guilty as anyone on this, and this is the last question because we're out of time, but and I know the answer, which is why I make a big deal about it. And yet I'm inclined to ask, are we making too much of a big deal about this? I mean, when we were kids growing up, our parents just gave us heaps of junk. We were eating fairy bread and taking cupcakes to school and Anzac cookies and whatever else mum threw in the oven the night before or on the weekend. And we were pretty happy to eat all the sugary, junky stuff. It was coming out of our ovens and our fridges and pantries rather than coming off the supermarket shelves.
That's exactly right. It's coming out of mum's oven. It's using ingredients that your mum knew that she made it out of, ingredients in her fridge and her pantry. It's not highly processed foods, highly processed ingredients. And this is the difference, I think. Back in the day, it was, a sandwich, an apple, a cookie. I don't think there was as much packet foods. I think today it's so accepted. It's like that herd-like mentality. Everyone has it. Everyone's doing it. It's fine. It's normal. It's okay. But it's actually not okay on so many levels. But yet, it happens to all of us, my kids included, because they love that stuff because it's tasty, it's sugary. Where possible, though, I will try and bake a few things. When I make time, when I carve out, 30, 40 minutes on the weekend to make a batch of cookies or make a batch of, black bean brownie, which is, one of my favorite recipes, I don't have to rely on the packet food as much. So if we can try and be a little organized on the weekend just to batch cook some food, then we won't have to rely on these, the Oreos and the Tiny Teddies as much.
And so you're saying, though, that a home-cooked Anzac cookie or a home-baked cupcake is going to be, it's still junk food, but you're saying it's not as bad as the highly processed stuff that comes off the supermarket shelf.
Correct, because you can add in an extra egg. You can use wholemeal flour. You can throw in a bit of chia. All of these little tweaks that I often talk to parents about. You can make it more nutritious but still tasty. Yeah. And that's where the beauty is, because they're still getting a so-called treat, but it's going to be a lot healthier and a lot more wholesome with real food ingredients.
Yeah, we just halve the sugar or drop it by even more than that, and the kids don't seem to notice.
That's exactly right.
Kareena, I love this conversation. They're never long enough. If people want to hear more from you because you've got so much to offer, where should they go and what can they get?
So head to my website, nourishwithkareena.com. I've got lots of free information, free recipes there. I've also got my flagship Nourishing Kids support program, so you can click on the link to find out more about that there to help parents, busy parents who are feeling overwhelmed with feeding, set up a really healthy feeding plan for their family. So you can find all of that on my website.
Nourishwithkareena.com. We will link to that in the show notes. Really appreciate your time, and I love these chats. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Justin.
The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. More information and resources available in the show notes and at happyfamilies.com.au.